John Mamola from the Score 670 AM thingy in Chicago. How are you doing, Rock?
Gentlemen, how are you? Good evening.
Pleasure. Yeah, pleasure to have you here. We're going to talk about your sports stuff. We're not going to talk actual sports, but we're going to talk about your show.
Okay.
So you're the co-host of the Joe and Rock Show.
That's correct.
And the producer of the Mully and Hanley Show, mornings on
That is correct as well.
So you went to the Illinois Center for Broadcasting. How was that for you? Because we have our
own.
It
was a nice experience. I think I got the cheap discount rate at the time, but it was a good learning experience. I mean, anyone that's interested in getting into the radio or television broadcasting fields, I mean that's definitely the way to go. It's basically 10 months, a lot of hands-on. They set you up with an internship, let you basically get your feet wet in the business, and I mean it's pretty much it went a lot quicker than I thought it did, but it provided me an opportunity that's gotten me a career. So I'm extremely grateful for everything they've done. But it was a quick 10 months, but it taught me a lot, and it taught me that hard work gets you places, and it so far has.
Well, out of the three of us, and all three of us are Illinois Center for Broadcasting graduates, you're definitely the one that has the most talent, I would say. I agree. And definitely the one who's gone the furthest.
Both accurate.
Those 10 months did go by so fast. Occasionally, I just want to kind of open up a mic and go back there, get my, especially the mini disc stuff. I have all this stuff on mini disc that I can't use. I want to go back there and just put it onto some type of other media.
Yeah, exactly. I think my mini discs are stored away in a very, very sacred place, being my basement. And I mean, it's really interesting because the more and more you get to work in the actual field, especially in a market like Chicago, the more and more you realize that no one uses mini discs. And it's funny because when we were students in school, and I'm sure you guys remember this too. They were telling us, mini discs, all the rage. Everyone's using mini discs, to archive stuff and record air checks and stuff like that. But when you do your internship and you talk to the people that are actually working, currently in the field, it's like, God, mini discs, it's so outdated. Why do you guys do it as a mini disc when you have, MP3 and CD and I mean even DVD ROMs at that point when I started out? But I mean it's sort of an outdated type of media now, but it's fun to if you can find a mini disc player at a garage sale or something like that, just kind of listen back to the old air checks. It's like, man, I blow, and I'm still pretty bad as well.
Yeah, we did our internship you were 2002, we were 2003 at Illinois Center for Broadcasting. I've worked in radio for 7 years now. I've not seen a single mini disc player outside of the Illinois Center for Broadcasting.
Yeah, neither have I. I mean, it's basically Audio Vault. I mean, the cool edit stuff, the Adobe Audition stuff that they teach you at the Illinois Center Broadcasting, I mean, that definitely comes in handy because there's a lot of stations, especially that I've worked at, that uses that same program. I mean, Pro Tools is sort of the rage now. It's sort of the new thing with, people, getting more used to using Macintoshes as opposed to PCs. But, I mean, a mini disc player, it's like asking for a cart. People nowadays are like, oh, what's that? I don't know. I'm not familiar with what that is.
So, luckily, I've not had to use a cart yet. I mean, I think only Les Grobstein has carts. I think he's the only one that...
Well, I see Les every morning getting ready for the Mully and Hanley show, and surprisingly enough, the only thing that Les uses now is just the same cup for his coffee every single morning. That's the only thing he uses. He basically walks in with a cup of coffee, sits down, and talks. That's all he does. He has no papers. He has no notes, nothing. He just sits there and talks. That's all he does.
All right. Well, bless him now. He graduated to the 21st century. You talked about your internship. I know you talked, or you did your internship with Boers and Bernstein and a little bit with Murph, or did you just do Boers?
I did. I interned for Boers and Bernstein, who at the time was 10 to 2 at the time. They followed Murph and Fred, who was on from 6 to 10. I basically showed up for the Murph and Fred internship and just stayed till about noon. That's back when Scott Scher and Dan Zampillo and way back in the day. I interned for Boers and Bernstein for about a good 2 weeks, and then I think what they did is they changed the lineup or something. I think North came in Mike North came in at 10 o'clock after Murph and Fred or something like that. But I was Murph and Fred's full-time intern for about a good about 10, 11 months. I mean, that's going past, of course, the ITB standards or requirements you need for internship. But I decided to stay. I was teamed up with Lawrence Holmes, who now hosts on the evenings on the Score, and Matt Abaticola, who produces Boers and Bernstein currently, and hosts also from, I think, 10 to midnight as well. So I got paired up with a pretty good group, and it turned out pretty well that I took their jobs. They moved, forward, and the rest is history.
And you've had that morning job for a long time now. You've done Murph and Fred, then the Mike North show, and now Mully and Hanley. Like, have you gotten used to the hours yet?
Well, it's funny because once North departed because of contractual reasons, Mike and Brian, Mully and Hanley, they jumped in, and the number one concern they had, of course, was the change in schedule, because morning drive is just absolutely asinine, and the hours are just so difficult. I mean, you've got to really love doing radio to do morning drive radio, because the hours and the dedication it takes, it's just a total culture shock, because you're used to working that 9 to 5, worked it before, you're used to waking up at 6, 7 in the morning, some people later than that, like 1, 2 in the afternoon, at certain points in their lifetime, but, adjusting to waking up at 1 in the morning, being at work by 1:30, 2 in the morning, reading the papers, I didn't start drinking coffee until I started working mornings full time. I mean, and right now without it, I would be a very lost man in a very dark hole. So, but yeah, the hours you never really truly get used to them. The more you do it, but I mean, it is definitely a culture shock for people that are used to that 9 to 5, used to that 40 hours a week, and then they got to go do that, and it's like, oh God, I mean, what am I doing to myself? Hope I got 3, 4 alarm clocks. So.
Now you're also the co-host of the Joe and Rock Show. Now yeah. I know you and Joe pretty well. How do you do the prep for that show? Like, what does it take to do that 4-hour show on a Saturday night?
Well, I know my wife and child are sitting, pretty much right next to me right now, trying to keep quiet. But truth be told, and I'm as honest as I can be, my Saturdays with the Joe Owen Rock Show is sort of my escape from my family. I mean, that's very true. I show up to the studios. I mean, we don't go on till 8, 9 o'clock at night. I'm at the studios by 2, just because I enjoy, being able to sit down, relax, have a little bit of a lunch, watch the games on during the day with no one bothering me. If I'm at home, it's a different story. There's a 2-year-old running around, breaking things, the wife's yelling at me, we got to go run errands, blah, 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 blah. That's sort of my day. So that's why I really, really, I really enjoy doing that show on Saturday nights, because it's sort of like, when you get married, I mean, I don't know if, well, Bob, I definitely know you're not married, but when you get married, you lose that guy time. The Joe Owen Rock Show is guy time for me. And I get it once a week, and I cherish every second of it. That's why we do overtime sometimes. Like, we're scheduled till midnight. We'll go till 1:32 in the morning, just because we're just having so much fun. We had a good discussion going. Let's just keep it going, I mean, what else we got to lose? It's 1, 2 in the morning. The only thing we're losing is sleep. So, I mean, what's the big deal? So, but as far as the prep, get there like 2 o'clock for an 8 o'clock show, watch some sports, read some papers, all over the country. And just talk with Joe and see what we want to do, and see what kind of fun topics we can do. It's a Saturday night show. We like to keep things loose. We don't like to be breaking down box scores or the cover 2 or anything like that. We just like to have a little fun. So that's basically how we go about things. Normally Joe shows up about 6:30, 7 o'clock for an 8 o'clock show, because he doesn't have the distractions that one Rock Mamola has at home. So lucky for him, I guess, But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun, and we have a really good time doing it.
That actually sounds a lot like my rationale for doing this show. It's only 8 to 10, once a week, but I'm trying to convince my wife that I need to begin the prep around noon on Sundays, especially during NFL season.
Right.
We're really going to talk a lot of sports today, honey. I got to watch all these games. I got to take notes. I'm going to really have to go somewhere else and do this research. But
the hard part that we have, at least in my house, is we only have one television. And when you work morning drive, you sort of need to know what's going on at night. You need to watch the Bulls games and the Blackhawks games, and you at least have to have some grasp, some concept of what's going on in the games. And I love my wife to death, but she puts up a lot, with my sports habits. And, if we're watching a, movie, we'll pause it just to check the Bulls score, see if there's anything going on. It sort of sucks only having one TV, but that's what we agreed to. So, but yeah, it gets difficult sometimes, but in the end, it is what it is. It beats, digging ditches for a living.
Absolutely. All right, a little bit off the subject, but a quick question
Sure.
for you, John. Now, when you were producing for Mike North, were you ever one of the people that was fortunate enough to taste the Marconi Giardinera shoes?
Long story short, I was actually in the first taping of North's Marconi ads. I was actually in the room with Russ Montero, who does our imaging work. Fine guy, and hell of a voice, and he works his tail off. But actually, believe it or not, North was looking at me because he was trying to come up with some ideas. Because the copy said basically, tell about your personal experience, with the product and stuff like that. And a lot of on-air hosts, especially in major market radio, when they get a copy like that and they haven't had really any experience with the product, it's sort of like, well, like for example, I have an AT&T phone that I got 2 days ago and is still in a box. But let me tell you, it's great.
Right.
That was sort of the difficulties North was in actually at that time. So he was asking around, like, what should I, say with this? And I mean, he's had Marconi Giardinera before. It's just, it's Giardinera. It's not like, it's like a phone or a weight loss program or a vacation service or a car dealership. It's a food. So what do I say about it? So actually, I was like, well, what do you put it on? He's like, well, I put it on my Italian beef. I put it on my hot dogs. I'm like, well, what's like something weird you could put it on? He's like, I got it. Then he started recording, and he started talking about his shoes. And actually, I was in that session. And I don't know. I'm not the one that necessarily suggested shoes, but it's sort of funny that, that still gets play now. I mean, there will be certain hosts on the score that said, yeah, I even eat that on his shoes, just to kind of, a little dig at North just because, he said it for so long and that commercial and that sponsor ran for so long. But I was actually in the original taping of that. And it was just, sort of funny how it all came together like that. But it comes together like that for a lot of sponsors, too. So
this week when the Ted Williams story came up, the homeless turned broadcaster story, I had mentioned on Facebook, and your wife was one of the people that responded to me, was that of anyone in broadcasting now that would survive well homeless would be Mike North, because he can, with just a jar of Giardinera, can get a whole lot of nourishment out of shoes. So he could probably stretch homelessness as far as any other broadcaster can, just because of the Giardinera.
I would love to get your guys' take on exactly what you think of that story. Now, I think it's a great story, what happened to that guy, but it also makes you, I mean, people that work in the radio business that are still, quote-unquote, on the beach, still looking for work, that's sort of unfair, don't you think? I mean, granted, the guy has great pipes. I mean, his pipes are outstanding. It's a great story, I mean, he was a drug addict, he was homeless, and now he's cleaned up, somebody recognized him, now he's got jobs all over the place. You kind of think, working in an industry like we work in, it's not that everything has to be fair in life. That's just a little petty, don't you think, that all these, places are trying to cash in on a guy that basically for 15 minutes of fame. I mean, what's your take on that?
I wrote a blog about this, actually. Go ahead, Louis.
Did you really? I had not seen your blog on it, but I thought the same thing. I thought it seemed like a really, I don't know, not necessarily cheap, but an awfully coincidental right place and right time way to get your big break again, I guess. And I felt the same way. He's not a guy that's been struggling and, toiling in the background, trying to, improve his craft and finally get a shot at it. It's like just because of blind luck, he's walked into an incredible opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my take on it is I know a lot of people in the industry that do not deserve the current job they have. This guy, I've seen some people on Facebook write about how, this guy, I'm out of a job. I was never homeless. I was never a crack addict. Or, you know what? He was also not, he's qualified and doesn't have a job. He's in the same boat as you. He just didn't have a house. That's pretty much it. to do voiceover work, which is what he's been hired to do. He wasn't given a morning show. He wasn't given like all types of like 7-figure contracts type thing. He was given a voiceover job. You need 2, maybe 3 things if he's forced to do his own editing. You need editing skills, the ability to read, and a voice. And he's been hired to do the job that he is only qualified to do, I guess. That's my take on it.
Yeah, it just seemed like Louis was saying, just a little too much right place, right time, right opportunity. But it's just you have the Cleveland Cavaliers, you have MTV, you have Good Morning America, you have ESPN, coming out. Hey, listen, voiceover. Do you really think that MTV and ESPN and the Cleveland Cavaliers really needed a voiceover guy? I mean, let's think about that. And this is sort of like an add-on type position, just to cash in on a little bit of 15 minutes of fame. And that's why it seems like, well, you're making a position simply just for this guy. Why not make the position in the first place so somebody else that's been on the beach that has the same skills, that can read, can edit, does have the voice, can get that same position? It was just a little murky to me.
Also true. I would say, if I were him, keep all your money. Don't cash in on future success. Kind of build your life back up. You've been given a new chance. Take it, build your resume, build your demo, and stay in the business because you got the voice for it. Stay in here and just do it later. Keep doing the job because now you've got a job now. But it's voiceover work. It's like a per kind of per deal basis. So it's not like he's been given a job. He's been given the opportunity to keep turning in work. That's the way I look at it.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm in favor of it. There's a lot of people that have been whining about it because they're out of a job or they have a job that they had and now they've lost and they've got like a worse job now and like the jealousy. You should have been better at your job type thing. But with him, it's not going to last. Everything's a gimmick. So I just hope that he takes it and gets hooked on somewhere where he should be doing this job. And how, like with alcohol, he's like he lost the job because of alcohol and drugs. How do you do that in the radio business? We're all alcoholics.
Oh, no doubt. How? You have to be an alcoholic. It's almost like a prerequisite to work in radio.
How'd you do that?
he was thinking ahead.
Like what? Yeah, it's just just stay clean. Just get that job and keep it. Whatever. Hold on to your money. Don't waste it. And think about like what you've been given here. That's my take on him.
Right.
All right. Lastly, before we let you go, we do a thing called the 52 Most Wanted Celebrity Females, and we've done it. We've done it in 2003, 2007, and now we're doing the 2011 list. Last year, during the March Madness thing, you guys had a cougar tournament.
Yes.
And
I was successful.
and we have a couple girls on our list that were on your list, too. Who was the winner of that cougar tournament?
Oh, God. You're asking me to remember back in March?
Yeah, I forgot. I should research
you know what? To be honest with you, it wasn't anybody out of my bracket. That's why. Because we went on Lawrence Holmes' show one night to do the actual bracket, and they just ripped the living hell out of my bracket. Apparently, I only knew like women that were 45 and over and were on bad television sitcoms in the 90s or something like that. I really, to be honest with you, I really don't remember who won. I really don't. I mean, and that's what a weird year this has been because, like, we did the Cougar tournament in March, and I mean, for a weekend show, you normally don't do a lot of bits and a lot of segments and stuff like that. But I mean, we mixed in a ton of production, a ton of planning with the Cougar tournament, the Big Ten Blitz, and the board, and we also do our 6-pack of NFL picks, which if you've listened to the show, don't listen to me, especially this year. Good Lord, the Seahawks are playing the Bears on next Sunday. I mean, what the hell is going on with this NFL? But you know what? I don't remember who won, but I'm looking at your list. I actually have a copy of your list right here. Now, I'm not big with like Pipe Up Black. I've never heard of Pipe Up Black, or is it Pip Up Black? I'm shocked that honestly that Britney Spears has no votes yet. That is just absolutely shocking to me. I mean, she should at least be in the top 5 of this entire list, if you're asking me.
Yeah, she only got the one vote. We talked about that last week, and we have no clue where to put her because she definitely deserves it. But we also have to respect our listeners, and we advertise the hell out of it. Like, hey, if you
you do.
If you want someone on here, go ahead, Louis.
But I'm going with the same thing I said last week. I have a feeling. Now, keep in mind, people were submitting their top 5. Everybody's putting in their top 5. And I'll tell you right now that she was not in my top 5. But part of that reasoning was, I'm thinking, these are girls I really want to make sure they get on the list. Somebody else is going to throw her in there. We got, thousands of people throwing in numbers, and I'm thinking she's got to be in there at least a handful of times just by blind luck. And as luck would have it, one mention.
The fact that now nothing against the women I'm about to name, but Shakira has more votes than her. Bristol Palin has more votes than her. Come on. I know Sarah Palin's pretty popular, but come on, really?
Politics aside, that is one hot tale right there.
Let me ask you a question, though. Why is Sarah Spain on this list?
I forgot who voted for her, but yeah, she was just on it because of the vote. We crossed her off last week. She's no longer on the list, but
good. Nothing against Sarah. I know her quite well and have met her numerous times, but when you're putting up Sarah Spain against Jessica Alba, come on. Really?
Yeah.
That's not the most egregious one. We had to we actually had to have a discussion about Michelle Pfeiffer, China from WWE.
Yeah, Joni Lawler's on here,
It got kind of ugly.
There's some people that had some votes there. I'm like, okay, I'm all for democracy, but come on. Like, your freedom of speech has put China on this list.
Let's see. I'm just looking at the names. Like Julie Bowen would be in my top 5 for sure. I love her on Modern Family. Britney Spears would definitely be in my top 5. I've always had a thing for Britney Spears. I'm sure a lot of guys have a lot of things for Britney Spears, especially since she's rehabbed herself a little bit and she's getting back into that. Kim Kardashian. I saw her on the People's Choice Awards. Not so much left in the backside. Maybe it was just the dress, but the backside was looking a little smaller than normal.
See, that would bump her up my list.
Yeah,
really?
So we're going to talk about her because I don't like the ass. Like you normally.
I love me some Kardashian. There's pictures of her that I got saved on my desktop that my wife is not familiar with. Give me some Kim Kardashian any day of the week. Looking also at the list, Brooklyn Decker, big fan, love Brooklyn Decker. Elizabeth Hasselbeck. Do you have to include The View in this list? You might as well put Whoopi on there if you can put her on there.
Well, the one person that voted for her. Go ahead. You feel the same way?
I felt the same way on Hasselbeck, and then this was yesterday, watching TV, and an infomercial came up where she's pimping, some new ab thing, and she is absolutely gorgeous. I didn't know she was cute.
Not for my money, no.
In a sports bra and short shorts. If I would have had to put in my vote right then, she would have cracked at least my top 10.
Yeah, she's not going to make this, but she's on here right now. Like, she's still on here for just a quote that the guy that voted for her said, that she is like the ultimate grudge screw.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to qualify. Oh, man.
No, she won't make the list.
Gonna pick, well, let me ask you guys a question. If you're going to pick your 3 favorites, who's the 3 favorites to win this thing?
Favorites to win it based on how I see the votes in front of me, or my 3 favorites?
Well, the number of votes that you've received. Who are the 3 favorites right now? Who are the leaders in the clubhouse right now?
Well, we'll go with 4, I guess, because they're because it goes by cards. So what I would think the 4 aces, if I had to judge it right now, and we're going to use it on Twitter like crazy with their own Twitter pages, but I'd say probably Megan Fox is up there, Katy Perry.
Okay. Yeah. Katy Perry, really?
She's got the most votes.
Katy Perry is crazy votes, and she's another one I'm coming around on. I didn't think she was that attractive. Now the more I see her, I'm kind of all right.
Scarlett Johansson has a lot of votes.
On board there. I think the biggest surprise is probably Sofia Vergara getting big time votes. I don't think she's top 4, but she's only top 7 or 8.
I think she was in the Cougar tournament.
Yeah,
Wasn't
she was. I remember she was in it. We also had Julia Roberts is on your list. Halle Berry got far in the Cougar tournament. She got really far in the Cougar tournament.
I want to say Zoraida Zamblin from Channel 5 was pretty well.
You know what? She got to, I think it was the Elite 8, and she was like the upset pick of the tournament because, the local celebrity, we could maybe tie it in with, NBC5 and maybe get a little play out of it, for Saturday night.